We have no leaders but looter. Human. Zimbabwe corruption is madness. I remain one blow, Mr. Blow, as I blow the corruption. Mutilation for my generation. Ilele, hear me now. Shout out to Raspi. We have a mafia government in Zimbabwe. We have no rights in Zimbabwe because the police and them soldiers are corruption, corruption. See, we have no ministers in Zimbabwe because they appoint their sons and girlfriends. Mama, corruption. The police is brutal, the military is volatile. See, corruption. Every corruption in Zimbabwe. Hear me now. How can a whole nation with ministers lost 15 billion? Zimbabwe is funny, the diamonds were given to Chinese in exchange for cheese. What about your Zimbabwe? Yeah. Corruption, 3 airplanes went missing. Mugabe and his in-laws and we're dishing. Let's talk about weak, no solar and hospital plus goats. The minister and president lie under oath. They injected Morgan and silenced the revolution. I cry corruption. They paid Nelson and stole the election. The nation left in confusion. Mr. Wamblo, I say it's corruption. Big up to you, one boy. This nation is rotten. We need a revolution. And youth on a mission. Say no to corruption. I'm about to cry now. Prophets and pastors lie for cash cars from Wignell. We have fake socialite and ass-licking musicians. You ja praiser, preacher try more. Walter Magaya and you pastor Yan. Poverty makes us brainless, calling looters boss and praising corrupt military. Why do journalists fear? Big up Hopewell and blessed salute out and Soul TV. What happened to General Solomon, Air Marshal Terence Sherry, Minister SB Moyo? Where is Walter Muzembe? Don't forget more Blessing Ali. This government mama is corrupt and bloodthirsty. No to clueless government, sex for Mr. Appointments. No to gold mafia. Even you, Prophet Angel, you a criminal. We have a mafia government in Zimbabwe. We have no rights in Zimbabwe because the police and them soldiers corruption. See, we have no ministers in Zimbabwe because they appoint their sons and girlfriends. Mama, corruption. The police is brutal, the military is volatile. See, corruption. Every corruption in Zimbabwe.
Right, welcome to the space, guys. Thank you for joining me, Hulu at Pachiso Live, as we are examining the developments as they are taking place in our country. Apparently, the Vice President, VP Chiwenga, continues, on the path of talking a lot of what other people consider to be a lot of sense. And the VP has been talking now, and I don't know what you make out of it, as in the same process, or at the same time, we have also the opposition political figures already planning to meet, and there has been already talk by others. We, even me, talking about it in terms of what is going on with the press conference that was penciled for Harare. Apparently, there's yet another conference that is also penciled for the city of Bulawayo. And people are just a bit confused in terms of how is it going to work, because the press conference is happening in Harare, also happening in Bulawayo, almost at the very same time. While the opposition is focused on the issues of constitution, VP Chiwenga is moving ahead when it comes to the issues, the bread and butter issues. He started it at the conference in Mutare, and he has not relented. Despite the speech given by spokesperson Chris Muchangwa. We still see the vice president continues on this path of speaking a lot of things that many people seem to be resonating with. This time, we will be playing, of course, the video so that you can be able to hear for yourself what the VP has been saying. So while the opposition is focusing on the constitutional issues, it appears that within ZANU PF, people are talking about the economy. What do you make of these developments as they happen in our country? Hot Seat Empire, just want to find out that you can hear me properly. Welcome to the space. Let me see if you are there. Hot Seat Empire, are you there?
I am here, Hulu. Thank you very much for having us on your space.
All right, Hot Seat Empire, thank you very much. Have you seen the video, Hot Seat Empire? I'm just busy with a little bit of housekeeping at the beginning. You know what we have to do, guys. Let us share the space so that we can be able to have, a productive conversation. So, Hot Seat Empire, have you seen the video? Briefly, you can just share with us what are some of the words that you have heard there. Did you hear, or did you see, did you hear the words?
Oh, Hulu, I haven't watched it. I need to. I'll listen to it. I honestly have. I haven't watched it. Maybe play it for us, stay safe, so we can all hear.
Okay, yeah, we will be playing it here at the appropriate time. And Hot Seat, in terms of the meetings, I mean, in Harare as well as the meetings in Bulawayo, which are penciled exactly at the same time, the same date. Uh, how do you think then it is going to happen? How can we manage to broadcast? Where should we go? Should we go to Harare or should we go to Bulawayo? Hot Seat, just a quick one from you as I'm doing the housekeeping. Thank you.
I think for tomorrow, because the faces that were first being portrayed are Anatinda Abit and Job Sikhala, and so I think they're going to be positioned in Harare. So I think most of the Zimbabweans would be wanting to hear what they're going to say first. So I think it's just good to pre-record the one in Bulawayo and then do the live for the one in Harare. When we're done with the one in Harare, then maybe we can play like maybe 15 minutes, 10 minutes or something of the one in Bulawayo. I think that's going to work because the famous faces are the ones who are currently in Harare. That's what I assume. I don't know if anyone has anything to add on that.
Okay, I see that. I hear what you're saying. We are going to be looking at the logistics and finding out what is it that we can do already, because others are already worried that that there's going to be a division when it comes to the listeners wanting to hear what is going down in Harare, what is going down in the city of Blawayo. So it becomes very confusing sometimes. But well, Honorable Job Scala as well as Honorable Prince Dubekos Banda have reported that these two have acknowledged the fact that this is happening. They've acknowledged that these two press conferences, so to speak, are going to be happening. But as the opposition is meeting on the issues to do with our constitution, as the opposition is meeting with issues to do with our constitution, I think some of you might have also gone to Professor Jonathan Moyo's timeline. You have seen that Professor Jonathan Moyo has been writing a very, very long statements when it comes to the issues of this constitution, and apparently sort of in support of the extension of the presidential term. Of President E.D. Mnangagwa. By the way, it is important for us also to clarify the fact that President E.D. Mnangagwa himself has not yet made any comments when it comes to the issues of the extension of his tenure. So these are things that we heard from the ZANU PF conference, things that we are hearing from ZANU PF people. But in terms of the actions that Ziambi, the Minister of Justice, he said that actions must now be taken to move with these things. So we still are waiting for Ziambi to give us more information. Right, Hot Seat. How is the mood like in terms of your country, Zimbabwe, at this particular moment? What are your expectations when it comes to this country? What do you think this country can give to you, and what do you think you can give to your country? As I'm just finalizing the housekeeping.
For me, Hulu, I think as a Zimbabwean right now, with the way things stand, I would say focus on yourself. Like what Hopal says, like if you want to focus on what is happening, you can get depressed or you can be tempted to do things residual. You feel like maybe your pace is too slow and then avoid tanga kuda kuromba or kuba and stuff like that. Focus on yourself. If you believe at this point in time that you know your success is out of the country, make plans to leave. If you believe your success will be in Zimbabwe, then stay and make it happen. But I'm telling you, this waiting game and this procrastination will get you nowhere. Will get you nowhere. So that is how I see the situation. It's not helping, complaining, to be honest. Hapana zviri kuchinja. Time is moving. We're already in December. Imagine if you started complaining in January. What would have happened? What has been going on? Maybe you're probably in debt from January. Think, I'll make a plan. I'll make a plan. Just do what you can where you are. If you're not happy where you are, make plans to move. If you don't know how to make plans, ask people how to do it. So I'm at the point where I kind of believe in that wholly.
Yeah, for our audience, it is important. I mean, for people to take note of the fact that this is, of course, the battle for Zimbabwe. Already, I mean, if you go to, say, for example, Lynn Stasia's timeline, a lot of things are coming up now with Madzibaba from Chipinge coming up and telling us about his prophecy of what is going to happen in Zimbabwe. Guys, did you
But
hear
Ulu,
that? There is
but what did he say? I didn't hear it. What did he say?
There is a Madzibaba from Chipinge has come up and said that God has showed me what is about to happen in our country, Zimbabwe. So everybody should take note of what is about to unfold in this country. I will be sharing with you, Rudo, together with the audience shortly in terms of what Madzibaba's prophecy has been like. But anyway, we're talking of prophecy. I think this is not the first time that we have had prophecies, right? We've had so many prophecies about Zimbabwe, including from the one who ended up getting the big car, the Land Cruiser from, say, Wikno Chivayo. What is his name again? The other. Pastor Ian Dlovu. So Pastor Ian Dlovu ended up getting that big car, and since the last time he got that car, I haven't had anything much from Pastor Ian Dlovu coming up with new prophecies from there. So some people are saying that the process is now aligned to gifts. We they don't know, but there was another prophecy that it has been shared today, and I'm going to be sharing that with you. So, guys, let me tell you, it is almost like a battle of ideas. I don't know if we can call it that way. Has Zimbabwe entered a period of the battle of ideas? When you hear the Vice President Constantine Chiwenga speaking about the economy, and when you hear the opposition gathering about the constitution, which one makes more sense to you at this particular moment? Because we see these things now happening. We saw the VP being lampooned by spokesperson Chris Umuchangwa, and many people wondering what shall become of the vice president. Is he going to resign? Is he going to resign from his position? What is going to happen? Is he going to stay in? Is he going to stay? In ZANU PF? What is it that is going to happen? So, that is the case, ladies and gentlemen. But now we will be playing the video from the VP himself, so you can be able to hear from yourself. So, very divergent views. The opposition on one side talking about constitutionalism, and if, like I said, if you go to Professor Jonathan Moyo's timeline, you'll find out that he's talking a lot about this issue of the constitution. Professor Jonathan Moyo, he's talking about the issue of the constitution, and apparently, you see, aligning himself with those who are saying, President Edi Mnangagwa can continue for 7 years instead of 5 years. Then you see, we have got Madzibaba, like I said. So Madzibaba, prophecy. I'm going to play it also here. the prophecy of Mazibaba. We are going to play it also here. But before I do that, to play the audio so that we can be able to hear everything, ladies and gentlemen, let me just go to ABM so I can greet him and find out from him. So ABM, here we are. The opposition is meeting on the constitution, and VP Chiwenga is unfazed. He continued to speak about the economy. What is your take?
Yeah, good afternoon, good day to everyone. I would just like to say that it's clear that ZANU-PF, dictates what the opposition does. The opposition creates rifts between ZANU-PF. It's now trying to. It's been hoping that Chiwenga was somehow at odds with ZANU-PF, but all they are doing is just knee-jerk reactions to what ZANU-PF is doing. No plans of their own at all. They weren't even talking about their future, about 2028 or whatever. But it's only when ZANU-PF says something that these people just suddenly find some sort of reason to actually be in existence. And, so it's interesting. And this is a legal battle. My apologies. This is a legal battle that is going on, but it's very clear that ZANU-PF dictates what the opposition does, because all the opposition does is react to what ZANU-PF does, So yeah, it's very interesting, but it's a legal challenge more so. But ZANU-PF controls how these people think, how the opposition thinks.
ZANU-PF controls how the opposition thinks. I do not know about that, but Elisha is here. Elisha, welcome to the space. So we hear from the Vice President, Constantine Chiwenga. We also hear from, the opposition meeting. Honorable Job Sikhala, and Honorable, who is the other one, Dubeko Swanda. They will be meeting at the very same time, at a press conference that is in Bulawayo as well as in Harare, exactly the same time. And we were hoping that we could hear from the press conference live. But then where do we go? Do we go to Harare? We go to Bulawayo? What is going on? I don't know. But then the economy as well has become very fundamental. Elisha.
My brother, how are you?
I'm very good, Elisha. How are you doing?
I'm great. I think my brother always that the situation in Zimbabwe is now boiling. I think this issue is a national issue. This issue has nothing to do with our political affiliations and how we feel about someone else or other political parties. The issue here is now a national agenda. Whether it's Chiwenga is commenting, whether it's Job Sikhala, but the whole issue now is chahapon chekuti vanhu vese they are agreeing kuti zvinhu zviri kuitwa muZimbabwe is no longer for the nation. I think whatever is now done in Zimbabwe is for the few elites who are benefiting from the present regime and who may want the status quo to remain. Because you can't imagine the whole political party ZANU-PF saying that they want to extend the term of ED to 2030 on the basis that ED is being supported by people and all people are happy based on what they can feel to say. But the same people, on the same basis, they are avoiding the referendum upon which the same people can endorse their the alleged statements. It's something else that cannot be we cannot expect from the politicians. Why is it that there is this much effort to avoid the referendum, of which they are basing that resolution to say that it is the people who want ED to stay, but they are now avoiding the same people at the referendum. So I think what is happening in Zimbabwe, I just want to thank VP Chiwenga for coming out. It doesn't matter whether the man is going to lose the position of vice president, but what is very important is that the man is going to leave the legacy, because you cannot be very comfortable to be called a vice president, but at the same time, whatever is done is pointing otherwise. There's a time of pretending to be for the people, but there's time of expose, which is now we are in the phase of to say that the Zimbabweans, besides our political affiliations, I might be in opposition. My brother can be in ZANU-PF, but the time is now for us to now defend our national. That's being patriotic. If there's another word to be used to be patriotic, now is the time for us to show that we are patriotic. Whether it is ZANU-PF, whether we are in ZANU, whether we are in Triple C or MDC, it's time for us to unite and stand against what is pending for us.
Yeah, that's very true, Elisha. But then we will be playing, I mean, the audio so that people can be able to hear. But to briefly, ABM, how would you respond to what Elisha has said now?
Hi,
ABM?
can you hear me? I would just like to say to Elisha, well, first of all, this was a ZANU-PF resolution at our conference, at ZANU-PF conference. This is not something that is in parliament yet, and once again, ZANU-PF, when it held its conference, a lot of people had not seen what a conference looks like. So now they see what a political party conference looks like. They start to assume that this is now national policy. No, this was a ZANU-PF resolution. We understand that opposition has never had conferences, so this is something, this was a political resolution. It's going to go into parliament. Is there a referendum? Nobody ever said that we want to skip a referendum. Nobody ever said that. This is the first time that they have seen how a political party actually operates. Right? This was a ZANU-PF resolution. It hasn't gone to parliament yet. There's still so many steps to go. But once again, I'll repeat, ZANU-PF does dictate how opposition thinks, because now suddenly this is a ZANU-PF thing. This was a ZANU-PF resolution when they say that the people of ZANU-PF want Mnangagwa to go on, right? Not the national people. That's going to go under parliament. Saka, I think it was just a little bit misplaced. His concerns are very misplaced, because you need to understand this was a ZANU-PF conference that this happened at. This was not in parliament. Right, this is what political parties actually do. Political parties, they make resolutions. All right, then my MPs, Nanani, they will go and make that legal ahead. So yeah, that's my take on that. So once again, ZANU-PF does dictate how opposition thinks, because suddenly they're trying to say, oh, ZANU-PF Yambayati Zimbabwe, yes, I don't know. This was a ZANU-PF resolution at a ZANU-PF conference.
All right, so guys, prophecy, I don't know if you believe in it, so I'm going to play the first one. Elisha, sorry, I'll be coming to you shortly, don't worry, so that you can respond, but I just want to put this into context. So Mazibaba from Chipinge has come out with his own prophecy. What do you make of this? Please listen up.
Ndinomukadzi Simon nhasi uri musi wa23 October chiri china birthday. Ndine nhau yandinayo ndakatakura kana kuti ndakapiwa mangwanana anhasi nenhatu naye Mwari Baba ari kumusoro kudenga. Munditeererese. Ini hangu handiti zvematongerwo enyika, ndino ndakavhotera. Ndine 30 years dzekuberekwa sendamovhota. Uye futi hapana wandisingadi. Ndinoda kutanga kuna mutungamiri kusvika kumapeto. Kuna opposition vada veshe zvakafanira. Chiri uri mwana weZimbabwe. Ndinoda futi vanhu vese, ndinoda futi Africa yose sekusikwa kutakaizwa naMwari. Hakuna wandinofanira ndakavhotera muupenyu hwangu nekuti ndomuda zvakafanana. Asi pane nhau ndapuwa yandazvitaurire vana veZimbabwe. Ini ndinozi Madzibaba Mambo Love More kubva kuChipinge kuChirinda. Mutipondero pastory. Ndamaningi story ndi baba mukuru vangu. Saka ndine nhau yandinobva Chirinda kuChipinge. Vanenge vechizondida. Kana pana zvinenge mafunga kuita kana kufunga kuona. nhau iyoyo ndapuwa ndazi ndiisvikise yakadai ndinokudai neutungamiriri hwenyu, asi iyi nhau yaMwari ndinoisiya kuna Mwari. Ndazi ndiyambire kuvapostori vari kuita zvematongerwo enyika. Teererai ndimutaurire papostori, kwazi veshe vasati vapinda matongerwo enyika itobvai mwasiya. Vakapinda, makapinda nekuda kwenyu, asi kune hondo. Chekutanga ndaona vaMunangagwa vari muimba yeraundi kitchen, yatinoti kitchen iya iri yemwenje, asi ndaona mvura yachinaya yakatadza kuti yakasvipa pakaita dhamu. Ndakaona vanhu vaiti vaMunangagwa huchi, vaMunangagwa huchi, zvaiti vaMunangagwa huchi, vaMunangagwa huchi, vaMunangagwa vainge vari mukati. Ndatadza kubva ndaona mabhokisi 4 kana kuti 4, mabhokisi ezvitunha zvavanhu vakafa zvanga zviri padera pemvura yakasvipa muri mudhamu. Kunganzi taurira vana veZimbabwe kuti kuda nekusada kune hondo ichasimuka kumasoja tumasoja. Zvikasai kuitika uyai mundisunge. VaMunangagwa kasvika 2030 uyai mundisunge zvakare. Kana kuuya ndega mupolice station yepaChipinge ndinouya mundisunga. Hondo ndaona yaita kwozoita hondo yevanhu tuvanhu. Vese vapostori vari kuti vapostori for ED kana vari kuti 2030 vari vapostori. Ndaona mwapindirwa, vamwe maurawa, vamwe masiyiwa muri zvirema. Hondo iyi ndaona inini kuvanhu ivavo. Handina hangu kumuona chinonzi Gukura Hunde, chinenge chichitaurwa uswazi ndo chimiro chazi hokoyoyi. Saka izwi rakatisiya zvematongerwo enyika. Saka mukuzviita kwenyu ndaziva apostori musangana netsaona iyoyo. Izvi chaitika kukazitaurira futi nyika kuti nyangwe vakarunga kana kuuraya Chiwenga, hondo yaizomiri. Pano utungamiriri hutsva huri kuchinjwa. Ndikazi avaChiwenga mwaizwa saMozisi, basa rakamubatwa mhiri yegungwa maakuribata muZimbabwe. Hamuzosvikisi vana muKenani kuchaya Jeshua, asi munenge masunungura saMozisi wakasunungura vana muIjipita. Kwazi izvi kuda nekusada kune vanhu vanoti toda Chamisa, kune vanhu vanotoda Chiwenga, kune vanhu vanoda Munangagwa, kune vanhu vanoda Chabangu, asi zviro zvaMwari. Saka zviro zvaMwari baba vako vanokwanisa kuzviramba. Ndaona jira jena richishingirwa Chiwenga uchienda pamusoro pejira jena. Ndikazi ndio mutungamiriri ari kuzi asunungure nyika yeZimbabwe, uye ndaona agadzwa. Kwete ndanzo anogadzwa. Izvi hazvisi kuda kwangu kana kuda kwenyu muri Zimbabwe. Ndikuzivisei kuti ndio chimire chigere chiripo. Nekuti Mwari wati ndini ndakambotsanangurira kuti kuchaya utungamiriri huchagara nguva yakareba. Uchatongwa kwemakore akawanda. Akazvipa zita kuti Gabhurieri, chikonzero izwi ranga raprofita chiti Gabhurieri. Kwazouya uchatonga. Kwai ndini ndakamutaura kuti uchatonga kwenguva shoma shoma. Kutaura kuti Munangagwa zvese zvaari kuita wakagadzwa ndiMwari kutaura kwake zvechokwadi. Uye zvirongwa zvaMwari unofanira kushungurudzika vana veZimbabwe kwenguva shoma shoma sekutanga kwayakaizwa. Nekuti akasaya kushamisa asi Mwari, zvikasaya kudzasira zvaakataura asi Mwari. Saka kwazi ndino ndakazvitaura. Wechitatu uchava musununguri wenyika yeZimbabwe. Wamunoda kana Mwari asada nguva isati yakwana, haiwa zvaatungamiriri. Saka ndazi ndimuzivisei. Zvikatadza kuitika ndisungei. Ndazi muZimbabwe mucharira futi. Masoja nemasoja havachapandukirana vanhu tuvanhu. Veshe vari kutorwa mavhidhiyo vachiti AD 2030. Nasi kuziva kuti pauri pakarongeka here kuti kana hondo dzacho dzotanga ukwanisi kuteerwa here kana uri mukati mwenyika yeZimbabwe. Ndaona hondo yemarudzi nekutsamwa kwakaita vanhu. Saka izwi rati ndini ndinozviita nekuzvikonzeresa. Ndaakuzviparadza. Saka ndiziise kuno vaya vanonzi vapostori vari kuita zvematongerwo enyika vari kutengesa ikanaka mhuri yeZimbabwe.
Right, Elisha. It's not the first time that we have had prophecies from different people, right, Elisha? What do you make of these? Or should I start with Hot Seat Empire? Hot Seat Empire, are you settled at the house now? Did you hear that? Okay. I think Hot Seat Empire is not yet settled there. Elisha, go ahead. Elisha, what do you make of what this individual is saying? But look, He says he's a prophet. He's a prophet, and that is what he is saying. And of course, we have had so many others talk about these issues, right? Before I play another audio, what do you make of it, Elisha?
I think what I think is that this prophecy is we cannot dispute it, because the situation in the country, if one has to analyze it without saying that I'm prophesying, it points to the same issue that this man is raising, because the situation that is obtained in our country is inevitable to anything that was to such substance. So I feel this man, whether the man is saying that he has been shown the prophets, the future events by whatever situation, but I feel that the situation that is obtained in our country points to the fulfillment of the prophecy.
Yes, yes, yes. Elisha, sorry, I'm just trying to multitask as usual because Rudos doesn't seem to be there now. She seems to be busy. I mean, sorry, her network, I think, is giving her issues. I would want her to be able to assist me so that I can be able to multitask properly. But Elisha, I get what you're saying in terms of what the situation as it is unfolding in our country. And now we cannot ignore anybody that says anything. We cannot ignore the reality that is on the ground. We cannot ignore, I mean, what people say. Well, when they say something, I've just learned that we don't have to be judging people, right? We just have to listen to all, and then we can be able to make. What do you make of this? I mean, ABM, you being from the ZANU PF side, what do you make of this situation where VP Chiwenga continues actually to be quite obdurate and going on as if nothing has happened? Remember, we had spokesperson Chris Muchangwa really like lampooning him and coming up with many disparaging remarks about him. But it seems like he's unfair, and he continues to talk a lot about the economy. So I'm going to be playing the audio from VP Chiwenga, shortly, as soon as ABM speaks, and I'll be checking up if Rudozo Obwe is also there. Right, ABM. So, what do you make of the prophecy first? This prophecy that the audio that I've played.
Well, a lot of people always come up with prophecies in Zimbabwe, and a lot of them don't seem to be original. As you can hear, this prophet is essentially he's going off of what people are already talking about, what people have been talking about these so-called divisions that are happening in ZANU-PF. So it's really nothing to me. I don't take it as seriously, and I don't want to laugh at religious people. But we all know of the famous prophet vachamisa vanongogara vachingoti God is in it kubva kuna 2013 vachingotaura izvozvo. And besides, there was even like during Mugabe's era, there were these prophets that always used to come and just say these things. I don't ever take them seriously, because apparently that is actually true. So it's hard to take them seriously. I want to take them seriously, but Kanag's my postori for ED are going to get murdered as well. So what is he saying? That those Mapostories now, what, God has already shunned them and he's already ruled on them, and those guys don't matter, they're making a mistake, and he's just dismissing anything or anyone else about Vanwangwari. So it's a very weird thing, and I just think sometimes it's just attention grabbing. There's nothing of substance, as usual, but we all know that nothing is going to come out of it. What he's speaking of is he's just speaking of and feeding off of what he feels from what people are saying. Zvekutaura vanhu zvekuti Chiwenga na Vamnangagwa, they're at odds. Same thing, right? Like there's nothing new, there's nothing original with what he said. He's just feeding off of Zimzatara Narano. So yeah, it's hard to take him seriously, to be honest.
Yeah, but you see, look, if you were there during the time of Jesus and somebody was prophesying that there's going to be the Son of Man who is going to be crucified for the sake of the people. Are you going to say that the person is just reading what is happening here in Jerusalem, and because of that, it is a non-event in terms of the prophecy? Well, I don't know, but Elisha, in terms of then, let's talk about the constitutional meeting by the opposition political figures. The fact that they are meeting exactly at the same time, and yet they are in different places in Harare and in Bulawayo, which many people have said it is obviously going to be dividing people's attention. Do you think that this is something to do with tribalism? Because look, there's a Bulawayo group and there's a Harare group, and when you check the Harare group, it looks more like a Shona dominated group. If you look at the people on the cast, then the other thing is very true when it comes to the Bulawayo group. And yet some people are saying we need something that is national, and it is actually called a national press conference. What do you make of this? Do you think there is an element of confusion within the opposition ranks? Let's assume, without any other clarity, what is going on? Why did they decide to organize it that way?
My brother, well, I think the issue is nothing to do with the tribalism. We have to rule that. I think there is a consensus in this nation, besides the ethnicity and upbringing. It's a national issue. The issue is all about convenience. I think we need to make sure that those who want to be, it feels that if everything is centered in Harare, what it means that it's going to left others in terms of geographic. So I think that is the essence of it. It's nothing to do with the issue to do with the racism. I don't think it will be like that.
All right, Elisha, but now listen to this, Elisha, and ABM and our audience. This is now VP Chiwenga speaking. What do you make of this? And just listen to the voice itself, as he is expressing himself in this. Listen up.
But we must say extract, process, beneficiate, and manufacture in the country. That's our model that we must now move towards. The exportation of raw material, no.
Right. So VP Chiwenga is talking about something that is very important that I think many people in Africa are now talking about. That how do we become rich as a continent without making drastic action with what we have? And what we have are our raw materials. We've got the minerals. How often have you had people say Africa has got all the raw materials, but it is the poorest continent in the world? So we have the minerals, but we remain poor. In Burkina Faso, when you look at Ibrahim Traore and some of the economic changes and social changes that he's making at the moment, it appears as if the only tool that we can be able to use in Africa currently is actually our minerals. Look at how many changes we have had in terms of leadership in Africa. Nothing much has changed. Look at Botswana recently. Botswana has changed its leadership, but if you look at the numbers, the economic numbers, growth rate, but Botswana is actually expected to grow at a rate of negative 0.9, the lowest in Southern Africa, because of the agreement that Botswana was having with the De Beers in terms of diamond revenue sharing and ownership. Now, this is a very, very serious discussion that us as Africans would need to start to begin, to talk about. How do you get there? Because look, if you want, say, for example, economic progress in Africa, if you want a large building, you must hire a contractor from outside of Africa. If you want a mine, to run a mine, and a normal mine, you have to allow investors from outside of Africa to do so. What the country benefits is only the royalties, only like 5%, sometimes even less. Sometimes they get tax breaks and things like that. So now, whether we change the president, tomorrow and change the president next week or next month or next year or whenever it can be, many of the structural problems that we face might remain. Many of the challenges we face as a people might remain. We've seen it in many different countries. That is what is happening. Guys, do you think that we are now moving? I asked there on the timeline of this space. Are we now moving towards the battle of ideas? And is this one of the ideas, the fact that we simply block the exportation of all our minerals? That's what the VP is saying. Just block the exportation of all our minerals. Not even a single one is going to be exported in raw form. Everything, he says, everything got to be done in Zimbabwe. So beneficiation and manufacturing must happen in the country. So everything now must happen in the country. In Malawi recently, the new president has already suggested that there will be no export of raw materials. They got to be processed, and the same Malawi will save about 500 million every year. If it just makes that decision, they are able to save about 500 million every year. And if you can consider the fact that 500 million is quite a lot of money, let me tell you what 500 million is. At current levels, we have our reserves at the reserve bank, our national reserves. They are 900 million. So if Malawi is able to save 500 million every year through just making that one stroke of decision, now imagine how much in terms of foreign reserves that Malawi can have. Now, I'm just asking in terms of, is this the battle of ideas that we need? Where we find now the opposition is talking about constitutionalism, VP Chiwenga is talking about the economy. And then we are now focused on these two issues. And at the same time, we need to build ourselves up. And we need to be realistic about the realities on the ground. Do you think that this is the way to go? I mean, his insistence on talking about the economy and things like that, is it something that encourages us when we hear this? ABM, what do you want to say?
Yes, I
ABM?
just wanted to add that what VP Chiwenga is saying is part of the reason why we're experiencing growth in Zimbabwe. For example, Zimbabwe already banned the exportation of raw granite in 2022, and that in turn forces the industrialization of Africa, right, or the industrialization of Zimbabwe, in particular, right. They've given mining companies, I think, up until 2026 or 2027 to set up lithium processing plants in Zimbabwe so that there's no exportation of raw lithium, because Zimbabwe recognized that we have the third largest deposits of raw lithium in Africa, right? So all of what he's saying right now is something that is already in motion. Right, like I say, like the two good examples, granite. They saw that there's lots of construction that is going on in Zimbabwe, in a lot of Zimbabweans love the granite kitchen tops, and they notice that, hey, we're exporting raw granite out, and then we're buying it as processed granite and in the form of maybe tiles or granite kitchen tops. Right, and next they've given mining companies a grace period so that they could set up processing plants and factories in Zimbabwe, so that they could at least they could ban the exportation of raw lithium. So all of what Chiwenga is saying right now is in step with NDS1 and NDS2, right? So it's hand in hand with ZANU-PF, with the ZANU-PF government. It's not out of step. Right. So what he's saying is exactly what we all support as ZANU-PF, as people who love the progress of Zimbabwe. This is part of the reason why the Zimbabwe GDP is growing not so fast, but it's growing because of such initiatives and incentives that are being put in place by the government. Right. That in turn creates employment in those sectors. Right. So all of those things are already in progress, and I agree that we should process as much of our raw materials in Zimbabwe before we take them out, and we should take advantage of the fact that if you're going to be bringing investment into Zimbabwe, You know what? Let it benefit Zimbabweans first, not just take out the raw materials, then sell it back to us as finished products, right? So what VP Chiwenga is saying is right, lock in step with Wamanangwagwa and NDS1 and the government's objectives of Vision 2030.
All right, Denzel, welcome to the space. You know what is my problem, Denzel, when I hear people who say that they support ZANU-PF and they speak off the cuff and they say that, you know, this one is in line with this and this is what happens and stuff like that. You know, I've been checking up, you know, the discussions even between Rutendo and I mean the spokesperson for government, the permanent secretary George Charamba. You see, George Charamba does not believe that Rutendo Matinyara removed the sanctions from the country, as he says. He says he was responsible for removing the sanctions, but George Charamba does not believe in that, and many other people do not actually believe in that. And I know that Rutendo also, you know, posted something about Wiknuchi Vayo's businesses, and he says that no, many people ask me, what is it that Wiknu does? What sort of business is he in? And I've just decided to ask Grok. And when he went to Grok, Grok mentioned that Wiknu Chivayo has got companies in Zimbabwe, including Intratech, which is busy. I mean, Intratech for the Gwanda Solar project, and IMC, which is a company that was supposed. Remember, that was opened immediately when Starlink was authorized to operate in Zimbabwe, and Starlink ended up saying that no, they would not need IMC to assist them in terms of being an agent because they don't operate that way. And then Ebenezer, the other company that is purported to be in South Africa, those who have checked it have indicated that it is operating from a hotel balcony. So precisely, you see, Grok, himself, that he relied on, cannot prove that Wiknu Chivayo has got any notable companies in Zimbabwe. And at no given time have we ever seen Wiknu Chivayo giving cars to his own employees. I've never seen that. His own employees giving them what? Giving them cars. And people have been asking, show us where your employees are. If you look at his pictures at Introtech and IMC and all that, he's by himself at a reception, and there's absolutely nobody there. So my worry with people who want to talk on behalf of people is the fact that, you see, it is possible sometimes that you can say something only to be proved wrong by those very same people that you purport to actually be supporting. I would actually encourage that when people say something, they should say it having all the facts. Speaking on behalf of somebody to say the president thinks this way, this one thinks this way, this one is behaving this way, will only make us look like fools when the same people actually tell us that no, it is not like that. Denzo, what do you think?
Yes, good evening, Hulu, and the other participants on our space today. It's an honor to be a part of this space. My contribution is going to be centered around what you said, not necessarily about Wicknell Chivayo, because it's something that you just said before I requested to be a speaker. But I'll focus on what you were saying about the speech of General Chiwenga, because he spoke about beneficiation, where the government bans export of raw materials so that the companies that are interested in mining, extracting raw materials will be forced to beneficiate, to develop the raw materials into end products, and then the export, which means the value of the product will be higher. So it is a dream that is based on a dream, because every African leader will always say that, but the reality on the ground, which is the business guy who's going to be involved in that business, will not be forced. That is one, because the reason why no one can force you, Hulu, to open up a plant that will beneficiate, because remember, it's your money, and you've got an option of investing somewhere. So that reality, that whoever comes to you a politician says that we must develop the the raw materials into end product, they are just trying to create a grand heist. Why am I saying that? If you listen very carefully, on the ground, if a government bans the export of raw materials, it does not end the trade. What will only create is the black market. Those raw materials will be stolen. They will be smuggled out of the country, exported. So that is the reality that is going to happen. If you want to compare what I'm saying to what is happening to Burkina Faso, the leadership is the junta, which is the soldiers. So soldiers, they have got a strong arm against corruption. So the biggest problem that African leaders or Zimbabwe is facing is the fundamentals, because people are corrupt and no one is arresting them. So that's the biggest problem. So whoever comes up with those funny stories of saying, hey, we must ban this and this and this, they're actually creating their own avenues of stealing. So whoever says all those things, because if you want to understand the fundamentals of removing a country from poverty to a first world country, you look at Singapore. Singapore used to be a colony. They were colonized by Britain also. But how did they move from being a poor country to a first world country? It's only one thing that they did. They punished everyone who was involved in corruption. They started from the top. So we understand that the problem with Zimbabwe is complex, because when you say something, remember Zimbabwe is divided in tribes. There is tribal politics, and then there is corruption. So those who come from the same tribe, they will defend each other. Even if it's wrong, they will defend each other. So when it comes to corruption, they also stand together, you see. So if you look at Singapore, what they did, the first fundamental that they did was they conquered the tribal problem. They chose English as the medium of communication. So every politician speaks in English, not in your home in your native language, because you are speaking to a nation, you are not speaking to a village. Am I audible, Ulu?
Yes, we can hear you. We are following what you're saying.
Yeah. So when you see someone promoting politics based on tribal, ne? Like what Mugabe did, because Mugabe knew that he had no idea of running a country, and then he brought in the support of tribal politics, knowing that he had the majority. So he started pushing things based on tribal. So people supported him because based on tribal. So when you bring in tribal politics, you can't change someone's tribe, because it's God who created them to be who they are. So you are not now exchanging, you are not bringing new ideas. You are actually fighting God. Because if I bring in my tribe in a debate, because I didn't choose to be who I am, then the debate now is now against God now, because I was created by God to be who I am. So instead of me bringing my idea first, not my tribe. And then the last part of it is that Singapore punished the managers who are involved in crime more than the person on the ground. So if you look at a case like the Zimbabwean scenario, you will see what I'm saying is true. The people who are on top are corrupt. They don't get punished. The friends of those in power, they are corrupt. They don't get punished. So you were talking about Wicknochival saying he's getting all the tenders. He has no employees, but he's making money. The person who should be answering those questions are the guys who are involved in tax collection, the Zimbra. So if they see you with a car, you are spending money, they must hold you to account just to ask you, where is your tax clearance? We want to see if you are paying your taxes, you see. So if you want to see how Mugabe brought in all these politics because you must remember Mugabe was surrounded by people who were not educated as he was. So he was pushing this ideology of saying he's the most educated. He didn't want anyone who's clever, because that is how he wanted to be relevant. And then he turned around the scene and started saying indigenize. So anyone comes to you and say, let us indigenize, let us decolonize, They are just saying nonsense to you. You cannot say you want to decolonize when the world is going this way. You want to go back to your village. You see? Now they're coming with things of saying, let us teach our kids to do maths in a local language. When the world is going right, you are taking the people back to the village. You see? So when we speak on spaces like this, we must not distance ourselves with the reality on the ground. The reality is that there is corruption. The reality there is that the people who are on top, they are not getting punished. There was a gold mafia documentary. We saw what was happening, but no action was taken because it's the big guys who are involved. So when you start using the government powers to say, let's ban the export of raw materials, you are actually creating avenues of smuggling those raw materials to the next country they export. So that is my contribution. Thank you, Hulu, for the opportunity.
Yeah. It's very important for people to be aware of the fact that what is going on within ZANU PF and what is going on within the opposition are very important things that we need to follow, because eventually, remember, there is a national consensus on something. Whenever a revolution takes place, it starts like that, where people look like they're divided. And at the end, they end up saying, you know what, guys, this is what we want to achieve. If you look at how many years it took for the liberation struggle to be executed, you can have an understanding of how difficult it can be to achieve what is needed to be achieved. The opportunity of having a third president in Zimbabwe, I think many people believe that it is a very great opportunity. You know why? Because that third president will have to learn from the first president, learn from the second president, and they can probably help the other one that is going to come after that, who will become the fourth president of the country. So in terms of learning, people do learn. And there have been some changes. If you look at if you look at how President Mugabe ran government, if you can compare that to President Edi Mnangagwa, we never saw people like Comic Elder being called to the state house to get a car during the time of President Mugabe. We never saw, business people who became very close to him and who went around giving people gifts and stuff like that. We never saw that. There are so many things that we didn't see during the time of President Mugabe that we see during the time of this president. So, in other words, you can see the second president perhaps have learned something. During the time of President Mugabe, Elisha, you agree with me that people did not get their salaries, although the salaries were higher than what we have currently. But they were struggling to get them. Now this time the salaries are lower, and everybody gets their salary on time. So changes do happen when there is a change of government. By the way, Elisha.
Yeah, I think, Mr. Holo, I think people should accept this, that the change of government or the change of leadership, it automatically comes with the change of priorities by that administration. Each administration has got its own priorities and have got its own weaknesses. Let me just maybe highlight, if you look closely, whether we have to accept that. Personally, I have to accept that. I'm not in sync with that ED administration, but there are things that man have done positively. That man has put his priorities in infrastructure in terms of roads. Right. So it means to say that if there's going to be another third president, that president will come again with his own model of running the country. Maybe that person will prioritize in the industrialization, which is ED is not in sync with. You get it? If you're going to give ED another 10 years, the men will be keeping on constructing roads. But we also need something to do with our industry to be revamped. So I think going back to the issue of Wolu, I think you raised a very important issue that the president, VP have raised, the issue to do with mineral beneficiation. I think mineral beneficiation in Zimbabwe or in Africa is very critical. We are not going to say much in terms of to say what is currently obtaining Africa is good for Africa. I want to tell you that we cannot keep on, Mr. Olu, continue with the colonial extractive model. If you look, those guys who set their agenda in Berlin, dividing Africa and putting all these artificial boundaries that are now come as a hamstring for us. If we continue, their model of operation was extractive. They were extracting Africa and exporting raw material. No wonder why, if you look, that Africa is that retarded and very poor. Simply just because you cannot believe to say that any country can develop simply just because of extractive model. Extractive model cannot develop any nation. It's wrong. I think that if we are going to migrate to say that, look in Zimbabwe, it is believed that we have got more than 63 minerals. We can easily going to touch one mineral in Zimbabwe. Let's look at platinum. We are exporting platinum concentrate, right, to South Africa, where there's refineries there. But look, Zimbabwe is just getting the royalties of platinum. But yet we know that in platinum we have got more than 5 minerals that are very important that Zimbabwe is not getting any royalty from. We get rhodium from platinum. There is palladium in platinum. But if you look those minerals, what Zimbabwe is getting, nothing or zero from that. But if you are going today to say that we stop exporting this concentrate to South Africa, and we have to put up our refineries in Zimbabwe and begin to process platinum. If you go to Ngezi and Simplats, you look that it's an average of more than 1.5 people who are employed there. So if we say that now we are going to put another refinery where we are going to process this platinum, it means that we are going to create more jobs for our new graduates. It means that there's an increase in terms of value that we are going to obtain from our mineral beneficiation, and that will allow Zimbabwe to capture a large share of in the value chain, right, resulting in revenue growth and in economic growth. And which means the more clever thing that you are fighting our government to say that we need jobs, it means that these jobs are going to be created. If platinum alone is going to create, let's say that we have got 63 minerals, we have got platinum, we have got lithium, we have got gold, right, we have got chrome. So if we say that all these minerals are going to process in Zimbabwe, it means that we are going to increase job creation from the current extractive model that we are having. Both are just extracting platinum, lithium, and export it through Beira corridor. And now what it means that we are exporting jobs. In a common person, in a simple person, in a layman's person, it is just a lithium ore that is being exported. But if you ask an economist, he will tell you that you are exporting jobs. He will tell you that you are exporting industrialization. He will tell you that you are exporting revenue. So we cannot afford, as Zimbabwe, to keep on, Mr. Wolu, exporting jobs in terms of exporting raw materials. But we accept that Zimbabwe is an average of 90% unemployment rate. How in a country with such an unemployment rate keep on exporting jobs in terms of raw material? We cannot going to say that we keep on exporting platinum, lithium, but yet the country is embroidered in high employment rates. So what it means that there's mismatch between our priorities as a country. So the only thing to go is that let's beneficiate in our country. We have to stop all this nonsense of exporting raw materials. Look, Mr. Olu, I'll tell you, the nation, no wonder why there's all this noise to say that why we are fighting. We are failing to understand. If you look to the model of Zimbabwe, it says that if one is mining gold, I'll tell you, the country is just getting, if you go to Fidelity today, the country is just getting 1% in terms of royalty, nothing more. Which means if kg of gold, I was looking today at the international market, I think it's around 4,111 in ounce. It means that at every ounce of gold, if it is today, that's being sold in its raw form, Zimbabwe is going to get 1% of 4,111 per ounce, and the rest is going to a miner. So that model is not even helping anyone. No wonder why there's this noise. Just imagine why the new administration in Botswana have decided to stop the export of diamonds. Yet the diamond is the only so mineral that is anchoring that economy. They've come to a sense to say that it's wrong model. So what about Zimbabwe that is having more than 63 minerals? If you are going to stop to say that, guys, let's stop this nonsense. Let's process our lithium here. Let's process our chrome here. Let's process our platinum here. Let's process our nickel here. What it means that we are going to create thousands of jobs through these refineries. We are going to create thousand jobs through downstream jobs that are going to be created. Those in transport and logistics, they are going to be to have contracts in this industrialization that's going to happen. So I believe that we are lacking in terms of when we export these raw materials, Mr. Hulu, we are exporting revenue. Mr. Hulu, we are exporting industrialization. We are exporting jobs. So we are not going to support to cry. I think we have to stop this model because this model was put in place by colonizers. So we are also colonizing ourselves by exporting these raw materials. No wonder why these white guys in Berlin, when they subdivide Africa, they divide it in apportion to their interest of colonizing Africa. So if Africa is continuing with the same model which was put in place on us by the colonizers, what it means that we are not independent. In terms of economic independence, we are far-fetched to say that we are independent economically. We are not. Maybe we are just independent from the barrel of guns. But in terms of real independence, that is economic independence, Zimbabwe is still behind, or Africa as well is still behind. If you look, I was following other markets globally. If you look, the Zimbabwe, the amount of platinum that Zimbabwe and South Africa is producing, it accounts to 60% of platinum that is being at the international market. Which means if South Africa and Zimbabwe have to agree to say that, guys, we are now supposed to say that let's beneficiate this mineral and sold it in terms of its final product. What it means that we are now able to control international markets. The reason why we are failing to control international markets that because we are exporting in its raw form. How do you control a price of in raw product?
Yeah, and Elisha, I think that is extremely very powerful, to be honest. That is extremely very powerful because look, we have had Elisha, are you
Yes.
still there? There was a bit of a disturbance there around you. I think it's a child.
Okay. It's okay. Yes, I'm there.
All right. Yeah, it's fine. So you see, I'm just saying that if you look, as I'm bringing Munya now here, and then I will still come back to you, Elisha. You can notice that you see, if you listen up, let's say you go to a group of Nigerians speak, despite all this hatred that we have, these things that come especially from South Africa in terms of xenophobic sentiments and stuff like that. But if you can listen up to a group of Nigerians speak, a group of Mozambicans speak, a group even of South Africans, as long as they are not talking about xenophobia and other Africans and stuff like that, if you can just listen up to a group of them talking about their country, a group of Somalians, a group, you will think that these people, except listening to their accents, that surely these are not Zimbabweans. You would think that they are Zimbabweans. If, say, for example, they were going to, change their accents and speak, and you are just told to listen up to them, you will think these are Zimbabweans. And I've heard this story from almost every African. Wherever you go in Africa, the challenges are the same. The stories are the same. What they say about their government is almost similar, and things like that. I'm telling you. So something has to give. There's something missing in this, in the way in which we are leading our countries. Like I said, before Munya comes now, I said, look at Botswana, a country run properly, and now with a new president, you would expect that its economy would grow, but its economy is not growing because of that challenge of the diamond revenues and stuff like that. The economy of Botswana is not growing. It's expected to be at negative 0.9, the lowest in Southern Africa. South Africa itself, which is regarded as the bigger economy in Southern Africa, South Africa itself, check its growth numbers. They are at almost 1% only in terms of growth. Now, clearly you can see that the economic trajectory, the type of leadership that we have in Africa currently, has not yet managed to grasp, I mean, what is needed to develop the countries. All this fighting that we have about this and that, without dealing with this elephant in the room, which is actually the minerals, because this is what we actually have, the minerals. That's what we have. Without dealing with this, I think we are going to suffer. So I think it is a very good discussion as we hear from VP Chiwenga, as we hear now the opposition like Job Sikhala talking about these issues and meeting and discussing issues. Perhaps we can have light at the end of the tunnel. 45 years is a very long time for us to still have somebody being happy to just go and stay in the UK or stay in South Africa, stay in Botswana, or stay in some other country being unproductive in those places where they are. Yet you have a country that must be developing, a country that needs workers, a country that needs development. Surely that something has to give. Munya, what do you think? As you listen up to the discussion that we are having, VP Chiwenga talking about the issue of there is supposed to be a ban, a complete ban on the exportation of raw materials. Everything should be done in the country. Do you think this is the way to go?
Thank you, Hulu and the hot seat. I appreciate the opportunity to talk on this platform. Before I go into why the VP says he wants a complete ban and then make it something that we can dwell on, I want to take you back to why we are here. We are here because of the 2030 issue. 2030 as a vision is okay, but 2030 as a personal vision is not okay. That's where I am. And when we don't defend that constitution, which we pledged to say, so God help me to defend this constitution, that I will stand as the last line of defense to defend this constitution. But I'm failing to do that. You have failed. And that's where the army should come in. Even the army is given that line of defense as the last line of defense to defend the constitution and give an oath when you get into office to say, so God help me, I will defend this constitution. But where are you defending it when you let it be mutilated in your face? Eh, Why am I saying this? I'm saying it in terms of what is happening in our country. What we are seeing, we have seen the president who said, I am a constitutionalist. I'm not going to stay for a third term. I'm going to retire at the end of my second term. But there are people who are saying, stay on, stay on. And he is warming up to that idea. Is he defending the constitution? He has failed. Number one, he has failed to defend the constitution. And what should be done? If we, the people, cannot defend the constitution, including the army, which is the last line of defense, fail to defend, we should defend the constitution then. Looking at it being mutilated, a lawyer is only loyal to his money. He's not loyal to anything. A lawyer, let me tell you this in clear language. A lawyer will never be loyal to anything. He's loyal to his money. If you killed a person What are lawyer? Munondakamura Hishwadi, but I want you to defend me. The lawyer will say, we find the ways uti wa unamura to Azuna. Because he's loyal to his money, he's not loyal to anything. So Jean-Michel Roman lawyers, is nothing. But the law states any sitting president cannot benefit from this change of law. That's it. It's a law. Yatakabvumirana chibvumirano chedu. Now we want to mutilate it and agree with no, there are loopholes. We can find a way out. We can do this and this. We can even forget about referendums because we can have it done through our means without a referendum, without even a parliament. Yeah, Tovuma, because a lawyer saying it. That's stupidity. Let's not be stupid. It's right. Sorry.
Yes, Munya, I can hear you. Just to give context for the sake of our audience, Munya, before I go to ABM and back to Elisha now, Zimbabwe managed to export minerals worth about 6 billion in 2024. So we are talking about 6 billion. We just need to put this into perspective. Remember, if you check the numbers in terms of how much Zimbabwe is owing, total debt, that Zimbabwe is owing. Guys, we are owing something like 20 billion. The last time I checked, I think it's about 20 billion. And the majority of those billions are as a result of us failing to pay the amounts that we were. So it's interest being charged on the amounts that we never managed to pay. So in 1980, we inherited, I think, a debt of about 1 billion US dollars. I still need to check those numbers, but I think it is close to that. And then now we're owing something like almost 20 billion, if you include money owed from internal, creditors as well as external creditors. It's about 20 billion. And yet, check this, Munya, we exported raw minerals in 2024 alone, which are worth 6 billion. Now, if you can think about it with what we are learning now coming from Burkina Faso, what this guy in Burkina Faso is doing now, Ibrahim Traore, if you can manage to get a hold
We have no leaders but looter. Human. Zimbabwe corruption is madness. I remain one blow, Mr. Blow, as I blow the corruption, mutilation. For my generation, hear me now. Shout out to Raspi. We have a mafia government in Zimbabwe. We have no rights in Zimbabwe because the police and them soldiers are corruption.